Welcome back to Grit for Life Radio, Getting Ready and Training for Life. I am your host, Nate Parks. Hey, we are back, and I don't know if this is your first time listening to us, if you've just found us, but we took a few months off and got a few things changed around. We kind of revamped our Grit for Life program, and also just took some time off for my own personal motivating my mind, building the body, searching the soul. I love motivating people. It is my passion to challenge people to be the best version of themselves. But there's also some times where I've got to take a moment out and make sure that I'm taking care of my own house, my own mental well-being, my own family, and making sure that the things that I bring to you, a few things. One, it's always fresh. It's always very present. And at the same time, making sure that I am living an example of motivation. Because one of the things I've learned in doing motivational speaking and encouraging people and working one-on-one with people and with groups is that people are going to start watching you. And I would expect that. But in order for me to make sure that I am living what I, in essence, preach or speak about, I must take time out every once in a while and focus on myself and my own family. And we did that. And it has been a great time. But we are back. And I am excited to see what 2019 brings. We are in our, we're in our third year of Grit for Life. And if you're not familiar with Grit for Life, you can check us out on Facebook. And GRIT stands for Getting Ready in Training. So in essence, we are getting ready in training for life. Because that's important, right? We all live life. If you're living, you're doing life. And so many times the things that we deal with on a daily basis can get us down. Everything from society and news and the negativity of all the things around us. So we have to make sure that we take a moment out to just breathe. I want to talk to you today. What's coming up? What is coming up? Valentine's Day. And I'm sure if you are listening to this, you have your own view of Valentine's Day. Everyone does. Some people love it. Other people absolutely despise it. And of course, society and corporate America, or the corporate aspect of the world globally, commercializes it. They commercialize love and emotion, and it collides together with our bank accounts and credit cards. And before we know it, we find ourselves spending a lot of money for all kinds of different reasons. But at the same time, there are some of you maybe who are listening, and if not, you may know someone who fits in the category of where Valentine's Day is something they despise, something they hate. In fact, it's a time where many find themselves depressed, crushed, angry, and even walled with a focus on not even expressing the feeling of love. There's some people out there say love doesn't even exist. There's others that are so determined to find that love, that one love, that true love, and it seems to elude them. I was reading an article recently. It was actually from April 29th, 2010 in Psychology Today, and it was an interesting article because it talks about how arguably Valentine's Day is a day where so many individuals struggle with depression. In fact, this article even talks about how Valentine's Day is a day that many people give up. Suicide hotlines are inundated with individuals who are calling. They just want to be loved and they don't feel it, and it's in their face. Commercials and society and dating, and maybe you're at work and you don't have that love life that you want and that relationship you want, but you are surrounded by people who are constantly getting flowers or candy or cards or whatever it may be. And all it does is it reminds you and it shoves it in your face that you're not one of those people. Now, I know some who say, it doesn't matter. I could care less. In fact, let everyone get the cards. Let everyone get the candy. Let everyone get the flowers. I don't care. But is that the truth? After I got done reading that article in Psychology Today, I was reading another one in International Business Times that said that Valentine's Day is arguably a day on the calendar that holds one of the highest suicide rates. Now, I know a lot of you also, when I say arguably, some would contest that Christmas and New Year's time period actually holds the calendar date for being the highest suicide rate. And you say, man, Nate, thanks. I mean, you really are way to pump us up, because here we're supposed to be talking about, you said you want to talk about Valentine's Day and love and relationships, and all of a sudden we go to talking about a season that maybe is full of heartache, depression, anxiety. Well, there's a reason that I wanted to talk about that. Today I want to talk about loving yourself. And I really want to talk more to the individuals who are struggling with relationships or struggling to find a meaningful relationship, but maybe you're in a great relationship, but you still feel like there's something lacking, and you might be able to get something out of this. Through my time of life coaching and motivating people and motivational speaking, and through my time working with Grit for Life, I have come in contact with so many men and women who struggle with many different aspects of relationships and love. I found that a common theme that I see throughout it is the lack of love. Not that they don't have inside to give out, but a lot of times it's the lack of love they have for themselves. We as humans have a deep need and desire to be liked and to be loved. Whether you want to believe that, whether you want to agree with it, whether you want to, come to the conclusion of that. Deep inside, we really do have that desire. Now, you may have crusted it over, built a wall around it, built a fortress, a castle around it that you say, no, that's not me. But yet we constantly are seeking it. In one way or the other, we're seeking a fulfillment in our life. Relationships and love seem like many times elusive. And a lot of times it seems like when it comes to relationships and love, it's like we're trying to hold the ocean back with a child's pail. It just can't happen. It's impossible. We try and we find ourselves, and we're in one relationship after another relationship, one heartache after another bout of depression. And sometimes we just want to give up, but it doesn't change the desire and the feeling that we want. And I know this because I've been there. And many would look at my life and point to my failures in relationships. But what they do not see usually is that through my failures, I began to recognize something. I began to recognize a strong and fatal flaw. And that's what I want to talk about today. That fatal flaw was truly failing to love and appreciate myself. Now, like I said, people, if they know me, if you know me, and in a minute, if you don't know me, you're going to find out that they point to my failures. It's no secret to anyone who has been involved in my life or has listened to me speak. I'm very transparent. It's no secret. I've been married 4 times. Now, you might say, then why in the world am I listening to this podcast? Listening to some guy who's been married 4 times talk about love and relationships. Maybe you maybe not have been married once. And you're going, and this guy's been married 4 times. Well, when I went through my 3rd divorce, I found myself extremely depressed. I felt a nagging feeling that there would be no way that I would find someone who would truly love me, let alone have a relationship with me, and they would probably be a good chance I might not even find anyone who'd even give me the time of day. I found myself angry. I found myself depressed. But yet I still found myself hungry for love, hungry for a relationship, hungry for something fulfilling. What I did not understand at the time was that it was not a relationship really that I was hungry for. No. Because in reality, my soul was screaming out to me to have a relationship with myself. You see, I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. And I had come to a point that I didn't even recognize because I refused to take a look inside. I refused to really look in the mirror of my life, but I hated myself. Oh, now, I wouldn't admit it. No way. There was no way I would admit that I hated myself. In fact, in that time in my life, and in a large portion of my adult life, I gave off a sense of arrogance, cockiness, some would say. And you know what? I would probably have to admit that was almost an understatement. I'd look in the mirror and think about all the things that I had accomplished in my life. But I would attempt to block out my failures. But my failures really, under the surface, were always there. Always in the back of my mind. Always nagging. Tap, 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 tapping on my mind. So let me say, I wasn't doing this in a healthy manner. I mean, some people say, well, you should be thinking about your successes. You should be thinking about your accomplishments. But I wasn't doing it in a healthy manner, in a way that would be self-reflecting. No, I was doing it to falsely pump myself up. In an essence, to feed my ego. Deep inside, though, if I was honest, if I had been honest right from the start, I would have said, and you would have seen, and I would have recognized that I was lonely. I was depressed. And as I stated, I really did not like myself. I began to seek out relationships that I thought I wanted after my third divorce. But in reality, all I was being a leech. You may be that, or you may have known someone that is that. You know, that person that latches onto you, and at first you think, this is the person, this is the one, this is the love of my life. And after a while, you feel drained. You are pouring more into that person than they are giving back, because in reality, they have nothing to give back. But what if you're that person? You see, that's what I was. I was leeching from others in order to feel good about myself. To provide the affirmation that I was looking for, that I was worth it, that I was a great catch, that I would be someone that anybody would be lucky to have in their life. Do you know what I found? I found hollowness. The same feeling I felt whether I was in a relationship or marriage or not for a large portion of my adult life. Why would that be? I mean, if I'm looking for a relationship and if I'm looking for love and I have someone who's willing to take time out and be in my life and start to cultivate a relationship, then why was it that I was feeling hollow? There came a point where I was spiraling out of control, and the short of it was that I realized that there was one constant in my love life. And I want you to think about this when I say it. Because I can guarantee you, and I promise you, no matter whether you're in a relationship today or not, whether you have someone to celebrate Valentine's Day with or not, whether you have someone to wake up beside with or not, there's one constant. That constant is you. See, I was the one individual who was in all of my relationships. I could go out and I could look at my marriages and say, well, it could have been my first wife, could have been my second wife, maybe my third, but there was one person that was always there. And that was me. And I'll tell you, it was almost like Miley Cyrus started singing her song Wrecking Ball. It hit me like a wrecking ball. And I realized that I had to stop. I had to change. I had to do something. And that something was I had to stop. I had to observe. Had to reflect. And then I had to take action. My first realization when I just stopped was that not only was I the constant in my relationships, but I also could see a reoccurring pattern in each of those. So maybe you were sitting here right now and you're listening to this and you can kind of relate, or maybe you're someone who you're kind of blowing this off. You're saying, man, okay, well, I'm going to listen, but that's not me. But is that true? Is that true? Are you jumping from relationship to relationship, dating to dating, or maybe you're even married and you're going, you know what? Yeah, there's something there. I could see a reoccurring pattern in each of my relationships. And I could take time and I could do hundreds of podcasts probably about all of that. But I want to narrow it down to this. I realized I didn't truly love myself. You see, in order to have a successful relationship, in order to have a successful love life, in order to have a successful love, you must first love yourself. When working to help motivate and encourage people, I see that they have a desire for true and meaningful love, but that many times falls short with their lack of understanding that you, my friend, you listener, must learn to love yourself first. When you do this, you have the foundation that your heart and soul needs. Once this is built and filled, all the rest just becomes a beautiful accent to your everyday life. It would be like trying to build a house, but you don't build the foundation. And you can't figure out why everything keeps falling apart and falling down. And then you go back and you try to build it again without the foundation and it falls apart again. And you get angry and you try it again and you try it again and you try it again and nothing seems to work. And then you start blaming the person who made the building material. You start blaming the person who delivered it. You start blaming the weather. You start blaming the property you're building it on, when in reality it is you, the builder, who hasn't built the foundation. So what do? What did I do? Well, when I started reflecting, it hurt. It was hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It is so hard for us as humans to stop and truly become present where we are and reflect on our own selves. Because that usually requires change. And I'll tell you, change is never easy. Change is not easy, especially when it's dealing with our own psyche, our own soul, our own spirit, our own mindset. But I had to come to that. I took a year off from committed dating. And when I say committed dating, what I mean is that I stated, okay, I have to learn myself. And yes, I still have that desire to be with people. I still have that desire to get to know people. And some of the best ways to learn to know yourself is by being around others. But what I did is I determined that I was not going to get into serious dating. But along with that, I took some time out where I didn't date at all. I took some time out to learn to love me. With all my mistakes, with my likes, my dislikes, my successes, my failures. And when I did this, I discovered one of the most amazing and beautiful truths. And at the same time, it's probably one of the hardest. See, when I learned to love myself, I became a person not only worth loving, but one who is no longer in need of another's love. Now, I was grateful for another's love, and I appreciated another's love. But when you learn to look in the mirror, learn to love yourself, learn to begin to weed out the things that need to be weeded out, work on the things and heal and love yourself, then that is when you can start learning to truly be grateful and appreciate. The hard part to it was actually ensuring that I did what was needed to reach that point. That's the hardest part. Because especially if you were in this constant pattern of dating and dating and dating, or one relationship to another, jumping from one relationship to another. A few things. One, if you're not doing that in a healthy manner, then what it does is it constantly reopens the wound of depression, rejection, and feelings of self-worthlessness. But a lot of that is not actually coming from your relationship. Your relationship is exposing what is already there that you have not taken time out to take care of. When I work with individuals who are fighting rejection or a lack of a fulfilled relationship, Many times they want the end result before they have measured out the ingredients. And what I mean by that is I've actually had people where I've told them when they've come to me and they said, I don't know what to do. I'm brokenhearted. I'm so frustrated. And I take a look at their history of life when dealing with relationships. And I see one relationship after another relationship after another relationship. And we know those people. I used to be one of those people. You see them on social media all the time. In fact, they make memes about them where today someone's post on social media, I found the love of my life. She's my queen. He's my king. And then 2 weeks later, they're on to somebody else who is their king and their queen. And I saw actually a meme the other day on social media. It says, what are we playing? Spades? And I was that way. And when I tell those individuals, the first thing I want you to do is stop dating altogether. I do not want you to be in any form of relationship at all right now. I will tell you 90% of the time, those individuals look at me and they ask, okay, what's next? They totally blow that part off, not realizing that's the foundation. There's a reason I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking them to do that. And it's when I say to them, do not get in a relationship, do not look for a relationship, do not accept a relationship, they just become dumbfounded. They can't even comprehend this because they're caught in a cycle of self-destruction when it comes to love and relationships. And I've had them just kind of gloss it over. They refuse to do this. And I stop. I say, okay, we're done. Because they refuse to stop. They refuse to reflect. All they want is action. And a metaphor of this is like you asking me to teach you how to make an award-winning cake. But then when I tell you that you're going to need a bowl to mix the ingredients, you just shrug me off. You want to put the ingredients all together on the counter. But then you get mad at me and you get mad at everyone else because you can't understand why it's a mess and it's not mixing correctly. Well, you have to take the first step. So as I stepped away, I realized that whether I wanted to admit it or not, was looking for love in relationships in order to validate myself. And I will tell you, if you start building a foundation of a relationship on this, you're not building a foundation at all. In fact, you are already setting it up for failure. There was a need for me to feel that others saw good in me, even though I was not seeing good in myself, even though I wouldn't admit it. But once I stepped back, I took a breath and decided to, and in essence, date myself. I found within me healing that needed to take place. Reconciliation that needed to take place. And I realized that I needed some self-growth. And I will tell you again, this is not easy because society's built upon a facade of commercialized love and inflated egos. We see this in reality TV like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Social norms push us to look deep within the mirror, but instead pushes us to not look deep within the mirror, but instead into the eyes of a lover. We get these TV shows that show, boy meets girl, girl meets boy. They look into each other's eyes so lovingly, and on they go. But that's Hollywood. That's not reality. Reality TV glamorizes fast and furious relationships, and hence that those who are somebody are in these glamorous relationships, and you want to be somebody. We all do. But let me ask you, are they lasting? Are you real? Do you really see the end result? No. You turn the TV off, you go to bed, and you start binge watching another show later. So what was the truth that I found? What is the truth that I want to leave to you? Learning to truly take a break and love myself required a few things. 1, pain, struggle, betrayal, heartache, and disappointment. You may say, well, Nate, I'm already experiencing these things. You're absolutely right. You are. Many people are in relationships. They are experiencing pain. They are experiencing struggle. They are experiencing betrayal and heartache and disappointment. It sounds like a relationship that you may know or you may be living, but do you know the difference? The individual that I was having that relationship with, the individual that was causing me pain, causing me struggle, causing me betrayal, heartache, and disappointment, I couldn't leave. I couldn't walk away from them because that person was me. I am always with me. So time moved forward. I wanted my love relationship with myself to work. So I took time out. And yes, I recognized that I had betrayed myself. I caused myself pain. This was a struggle, and boy, sometimes disappointing. But I had to stop, and I had to talk with myself. I had to communicate with myself. I had to develop myself. I had to heal myself. And I, most importantly, had to learn to forgive myself. Now, over time, I began to realize that this nagging desire to find love, ironically, was fading. Now, I don't mean in the bitter way of like, I'm not gonna love anyone anymore. No. I don't mean like when you get tired of being burned. But instead, the nagging desire to find love was fading in a very fulfilling way. And you say, what? Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? The reason being is because I had found love. I had found it in myself. As this happened, I learned new things about myself. I discovered a healthy relationship with myself. I no longer was looking for love because love had become deeper than I had ever known. It was deep within my soul. I discovered a whole new world. I became satisfied and fulfilled in my life. I looked forward to getting up in the mornings, and I looked forward to living life and seeking out new things and doing new things with myself. I enjoyed life with all its ups and downs. I became happy and energized. And I was taking now care of me. Then the most amazing thing happened. I wasn't looking for love. And in fact, when love kind of came looking for me, I almost walked away from it. And actually I did briefly. You see, when I met my wife, I had come to a point in my life that I didn't need a relationship. Wasn't even looking for a relationship. I had become satisfied in loving me. And then one day, I come home to a house that I lived with several roommates and go in our backyard where there's a hot tub, and I see an amazing, beautiful lady who caught my eye. But that was it. There's a little stir in my heart, I will admit. But again, I didn't need a relationship. But what happened was a relationship began to grow. And this lady became my wife because she saw the true me. Because why? I was living the true me. I was loving the true me. She was loving the true her. She had learned to love herself. I had learned to love me. We didn't need each other. But over time, we became best friends. And we realized we wanted to know each other. Together, we learned each other. We weren't looking for each other, but because we had learned to love ourselves, we knew how to truly and in a healthy way, love each other. So I challenge you during this time period, whether you have a strong relationship or whether you're a serial dater or you just want to throw Valentine's Day out the window. I'm going to challenge you right now to stop, reflect, take action. I want you to learn to love yourself. Because in doing so, you will find that love grows from within and then becomes enjoyed by the world around us. It will be picked up by the universe and will pollinate with the life of someone that you weren't even looking for.